Gill Mining, Guardian, Analyzers. It sounds like a sci-fi movie, but not anymore. If you're hearing the latest buzz from the last 2 weeks, you've probably heard those words tossed around enough that maybe you're even starting to use them in your casual conversations with your tech folks. But here's the real question. Is this new level of AI and communications actually ready for actual workloads in your very real environment? How about 10,000 at a time or even more?
Technology.
Strategy.
The future of communications.
Analysis.
This is The Resource.
Welcome to The Resource. My name is Doug Bryant, CTO here at Communications Resources. And joining me as always is Billy Belcher, our Director of Solutions Engineering.
Well, hello, Doug. And I feel like with this episode, with the gentleman we have, I'm going to need a glossary.
Well, we'll try to avoid that. Nay, we have the expert that can break it down where we were not going to need it. So today we're joined by Mike White. He's a solutions engineer from Dialpad. Mike, welcome to the show.
Doug, thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Great. Well, we're looking forward to digging into what's real, what's ready, and what the CIOs and those VPs of customer experience should really be paying attention to. So let's start up here. Let's start up high. Let's start high level. Let's talk about the state of the market. Mike, what is the biggest challenge enterprises are facing right now in adopting AI?
Yeah. So today in AI, everybody's in this pilot purgatory, right? So everybody has ideas. They see that, like, hey, AI can do this, this, and this. But once they start deploying, you stall because either A, the solution's not working quite like they wanted it to, or B, they're not seeing the resolution that they wanted to. And so we're in this gap between proof of concept and production ready. And so Dialpad hopes that we will be able to take that leap with everyone.
Yeah, we see that a lot. Organizations feel like they need to get, let's get AI just because everybody else has it.
It reminds me, guys, of back in the early days, you'd say, so you're moving to cloud? And they'd say yes. And I'd say, well, why? And what would they say?
They said, because cloud.
Every time, all the cool kids are doing it, right?
That's right. Got to fit in.
That's it. Okay. So when we see that those AI initiatives need to be tied directly to operational outcomes, that changes it. It's not just adoption, is it?
No, it's important that you have results, right? So if you guys at CRI were looking to bring on a new employee, would that person be able to just sit around and not do anything? Or do they have to add value to your bottom line? With that, right? That's the same way your new digital employees are, or your agents. They have to contribute something, whether they lighten the load of others or they completely do something by themselves. You need that outcome focused. What is the business outcome? What is the why behind your new agent?
That's
very important. We've seen organizations, Mike, turn AI on and then quietly turn it off 6 months later.
And it's usually followed by something like, that just really didn't fit our environment.
And just for the record, we didn't plan that. So what do you think about that, Mike?
Yeah, so it's frequently the case that, people are trying, just to see what works, right? They don't know where to start. And one of the things we think is very important at Dialpad is giving everyone a starting point. And our solution to that is skill mining. So skill mining comes in, it allows us to run an analysis of past conversations, transcriptions, whatever conversations were occurring inside of that organization to find out what can be automated. So we don't have to guess what our next workflow is or how we can assist. We can see automatically where an agent or automation could help customers. And that's going to drive real value instantly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So Billy, where do we typically start?
Well, we always start with a thorough discovery. We talk to the customer and say, let's talk about one pain point right now that's causing friction in the business. Let's work on that.
Yeah. And so, Mike, help us to, go deeper in how Dialpad helps companies figure out where they actually automate.
Yeah, so it's very similar to what Billy was saying. For that first use case, again, our forward deployment engineering team will come in, they will sit down, they'll go shoulder to shoulder with CRI to uncover those areas of automation. But at the same time, as we spoke about, we'll use our skill mining to go in and analyze conversations to find where are those repeated inquiries, where are those common issues, where are the things that are occurring possibly that the business may be missing, such as after hours? What happens after hours?
Okay. So you're not asking customers to speculate about where to be efficient. You're helping them find out where it already exists.
Exactly, because we want to do a quick ROI and iterate or wash, rinse, and repeat. But as you can tell, I'm not used to that.
Yeah.
And, that's really important because, if you say we think this might help, that might not be the best business case.
No. So as we're going deeper into each thing you're talking about, help us understand how the skill mining translates into actual ROI.
Yeah, so if you think about it, with our skill mining, we can go back and analyze conversations, up to 10,000 conversations, if you will, to find out what the humans are doing inside of those conversations. Let's say you have an organization and 40% of those calls are just setting up appointments. Well, you may also find that another 23% are rescheduling said appointments. So now you have potentially 60+% of your calls that could be handled by automation or an agent. So I think about this in my personal life. I sit here all day working at 5 o'clock. I'm like, I need to schedule an oil change. Well, the place is closed at that time. But what if I could call in and schedule after hours with an agent because everybody's gone home, and I'll have the next available appointment? How much additional revenue could that be for that organization that didn't miss that appointment? Because now I'm going to sit here in the office and I'm going to do the same thing the next day. I'm going to forget to call. 5 o'clock's going to roll around and we're in this vicious loop.
Yeah. And that, what can also happen, what if your competitor does have some AI in the evening and he gets your business, right?
Absolutely.
And it's also not replacing people. It's not replacing agents. It's just reclaiming time.
Yeah. So today, everybody is overworked. There's no end to the workday. You guys probably work till 6 p.m. every day. So, but how do we start to augment so that as we see the graying of America and things along those lines and people are retiring, how do we bring on additional staff in the form of digital agents to cover some of those things to make everyone happier?
Yeah. Staffing, really, it's the most constrained resource in a contact center. It's really the biggest deal. And back in the old days, we always would say, you got to have at least two because one may need to go to the restroom.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's get on. So we know what to automate now. How difficult is it to build an AI agent, Mike?
Well, that's the beauty, right? With our Dialpad Studio, after we run that mining scenario, we'll know all the steps that those previous humans took to solve those problems. And so now we can create an agent at a click of a button. and now that agent will be ready to go automatically. If you want to change it in some sort of fashion, you can absolutely update it and do those things. However, with no coding, no true IT related skills, if you will, I can have a digital employee ready to start taking calls almost instantly.
So we're not talking about an engineering project. It's more AI assisted structured workflow design. Really, there's that word again, workflow, but that's where we're living.
Absolutely. But I want to highlight it is a workflow, but it's not a bunch of if this, then that statements, right? It is truly the agent, or as I like to call it, your new intern, adapting to the work that you've asked it to do.
Fabulous.
That's great. That's really good. But, IT teams are already busy, and they don't want something else they have to manage all the time. So
Absolutely.
Yeah. So here we are, walking, stepping. We start at the high level. Now here we are. We've built the AI agent, and let's talk about real life. How do we know that AI agent's not going to break in the real world?
Well, I always like to say there's no guarantees. However, we try to mitigate as many as we can. And along those lines, Dialpad developed our proving ground. So once we've discovered the skill mining and we've built it with the no code, now we run it through this proving ground, which is going to bang that agent against all kinds of real life scenarios, up to 15, and it's going to test it in the edge cases, the happy cases, the angry cases, all of those. But the beauty is, it's not that the AI has to be able to do everything, but it has to be able to do what it knows how to do, what we've told it to do, and also know when to hand off to a human. Because at some point, it's not for the agent to do everything. It is going to be for a clean handoff within that environment.
Mm.
that's really important, and you really got to stress it because customers are unpredictable.
That's putting
Oh, yeah.
That's putting it gently.
Yeah.
Sweet. So let's get into compliance and guardrails. Once the bot is live, how does Dialpad ensure that it stays safe and compliant?
Yeah, so along those lines, right, we are going to have our Guardian system, and our Guardian system is going to ensure all the time running in the background to make sure that the agent stays on task, right? So if this looking at compliance and regulation, our model armor is going to prevent any harmful contact or prompt injection. I know there's been a lot of things where people are taking over bots and things along those lines. So that's very important that we make sure that you can't come in, take over with a malicious URL or anything along those lines. We want to keep our clients safe as well as keeping Dialpad safe. So we put these systems in place, and there's more we can talk about as we get into the conversation deeper.
Well, that's very important. That's very important, especially in regulated industries.
Definitely. So I understand that Guardian it's using, and I think this is what you're talking about. Did you use the word analyzers? That's what I understand it uses. And that's how the compliance aspect works. Is that correct?
Absolutely. So the compliance aspect is our model armor, but then we also have our conversation alignment to make sure that the bot is, or the agent is handling the things that we want it to handle, right? So I'll just say a quote by our CEO, Craig Walker: AI handles what it can, humans handle what they should, the customer experience stays the same.
Okay.
Yeah, that's very important.
And so that's what's happening. If a customer gets off topic and tries to take the AI off topic, this is what's going to kick in.
Absolutely. And we'll escalate it up to a human because, again, it's not doing what it's supposed to do. Along those same lines, what if someone's getting frustrated with the bot or the agent, right? Because we all get frustrated. I do every day, not just at agents, at real people too. But it's going to use our own proprietary sentiment analysis to make sure that, hey, we can have a customer who's frustrated with a solution, or not a solution to say, with the conversation, But as soon as they start to get frustrated with the agent, then too, we want to get that up to a human. Raise your hand if you remember back in the day where you had to press 0 or say 0 or do all these things. You could never get out of that IVR. We don't want things to be that way. We want to make accessing the human very, very easy because we want to deliver a great customer experience.
That's great. So the system knows the rules, it knows its limits, and it knows when the human's needed.
Yes.
That's great. That's great. All right. I got a question for you, Mike. We hear this a lot, agentic AI. How is it different from generative AI that we've been using for the past few years?
So I would say the main thing you should think about, right, is generative sort of creates data, if you will. It's going to create words and verbiage. Agentic is actually going to go into systems and do things, right? So like we were talking about earlier, you need to schedule an appointment. It is going to schedule it in the scheduling system, send out follow-ups as we require. Along those same lines, I need to change it. It's going to change it in that system. What I think is magical, right, is we always think that one AI is replacing another. However, it's nothing more than an iteration. And again, to quote Craig Walker again, AI is the worst it's ever going to be today because it's just going to keep getting better and better and better.
That's right.
So back in the day, like, I don't know,
yesterday,
generative AI was writing, but now agentic AI acts.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's talk about what is making Dialpad unique. In our last podcast, we talked about how Dialpad has stormed on the scene for a lot of people, but Dialpad's been around a while. And you have taken some things on very courageously, but also very conscientiously and concisely in your deliverables. So what makes Dialpad unique?
So for us, I would just say we've been doing AI for almost a decade now. So this is just the next iteration for us. We have a team of data scientists and PhDs who keep us well grounded. But the beauty isn't in the technology itself. It's in the integrated solution, the single platform. The agents can help humans. The humans can help agents. The data is all the same. So while the agent uncovered things that the human was doing and suggested ways to automate it, when that call comes back around or that chat comes back around to a human, the AI can assist in the background. But you don't have this data latency that you might have by cobbling together many, many systems, because all of the data is inside of our system, and we're sitting on about 12 billion minutes of business conversations. So our PhDs and scientists are reviewing said data to figure out how we can make AI more powerful, how we can automate. And it's this continuous feedback loop that it just keeps getting better and better.
That's very, very powerful stuff there. You know, it doesn't sound like Dialpad's running a pilot program at all, right? You guys are just interested in execution and producing some desired results. So got another question for you, Mike. We've talked about the AI agent. Let's talk about how the agent hands off to a human, right? How does that look? How does it feel on the other end of the person calling in?
Yeah, so when that human agent gets that AI handoff, they're going to have to ask that customer all of those same questions. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to hand that off in a way.
We've all gotten that, though, right? We've all
done it every time.
That's the frustration, right? Yeah. Like that's when you have your phone in your hand, you're ready to throw it. But no, when it hands off, the agent is going to see on their screen a nice set of information, including everything that was covered. Wow. If they validated against an internal system, things along those lines. And to me, the most important thing is why the agent is handing off. Because if I'm handing off to you because we sensed frustration as a human, now I can answer in a very empathetic manner. And because of some of the technology we've always had, such as transcription and note taking and things along those lines, I am fully locked in on being present and bringing all of my humanity and empathy to that call, not scribbling down notes or looking up an account number or trying to log into 12 systems. I am there present to help solve whatever that problem is.
Powerful. So as we say in church, could I get an amen?
Amen.
Amen. That is what we've all been hoping for and waiting for. I can imagine from someone who ran contact centers for many years, I can imagine not only the help that is to that agent, but what a help it is to enable that agent to get to the floor faster and to be confident that they have the answers and can truly help the people who are calling. And that changes the whole dynamic of the customer experience as well as that agent's experience. That's fabulous. So that human's not walking in blind. The agent is not getting beat up because they're having to ask them to repeat that and know what they're going to get time and time again. That's wonderful, man.
Absolutely.
And that just creates a natural flow between the agent and the customer. So that's really good.
That's what we're looking for. So if you're just joining us, we're talking to Mike White from Dialpad, and we're talking about how agentic AI is moving from theory. You've heard Billy say many times, in theory, but it's moving from theory to production. It's happening with structure. It's happening with governance. It's happening with measurable outcomes. And Mike has been sharing the incredible rollout of Dialpad's Guardian. So looking for some practical advice, Mike, if you could give the leaders who are listening today and they're evaluating AI, what's one piece of advice you could give them?
So I'm going to start with a freedom statement, if you will, right? As much as I would love to say that Dialpad AI is going to be the one AI to rule them all and to take care of everything, I don't believe that's true. The same way you go out and you hire different associates for different positions, different personas for different positions, you're going to have a multitude of AIs inside of your organization. Yeah. What you need to make sure of is that we're training our organization to understand how to better use those AIs, the ones that are going to be sitting there as your digital sidekick to help you on a day-to-day basis. But then there's also others that are going to surface data in the background that you could be using. So with that being said, I think you take a holistic look, see what tools you already have embedded into some of the tools you already own, figure out where the gaps are in your organization, engage an organization such as CRI to begin to look at filling those gaps. It may not always be with a new solution. It could be with something you already have, but you haven't thought about using it in that fashion. And Billy and his architect team can definitely help dig in on those items.
Yeah, Mike, I echo everything you just said. You know, it comes down to the correct tool for the job, right? One AI's, any application is not going to fix everything. But that's great information.
And I like also how you stress that AI is going to become more and more embedded behind all the different things we do.
Yes.
And so even though that's going to be an undergirding, it's not going to be the final answer for anything. We have to measure. We have to run some level of proof of concept, as you said. And the most important thing we can do is not do it on our own. It's to bring in experts like you and like Billy to get us there. So this is one of our most favorite segments of each podcast. So we're going to take a look ahead. So I'm going to give you the question this time, Mike. 3 years from now, what changes?
So this is me pie in the sky, right? Like just thinking outside of what Dialpad does or anything else does. There's going to be more agency amongst the AIs. There's going to be a quicker, faster way of humans communicating with them, whether it be some sort of neural network that we're connected. But I also think that the AI shopping, them having access to your virtual credit card, which I think will probably be something blockchain related, so it's immutable. And to be able to go out and execute in a bigger fashion than we are right now, as we move forward, it's really exciting to think about it. And I, for one, I hope that the autonomous cars are fully functional by that time, because I'm ready to give up driving.
You want to take a nap coming in and going out, right?
Yes, I do.
That sounds very good. I just want to caution us all that Neuralink, if you connect to the wrong brain, it could be problematic. But
probably this one
problematic. Yeah.
Yeah. In the end, though, for everybody, discipline and good business planning, that's the recipe for good results.
100%.
Certainly. Okay. So we've had some great insight from you both today. Mike, we're very excited to continue partnering with you and Dialpad to present you as a great resource to our partner customers. So, Billy, for our listeners, what's the next step?
Well, I just want to talk about Mike for a minute. Mike's, he's a great guy. Today he's here as our guest. He's not only an expert, he's a colleague, he's a resource for our customers, our partners every day. We love to come together with Mike and all of Dialpad and just look forward so we can take the proper steps, get with our customers, move to phase 2 in AI, and just make sure everything's more fruitful for their business and not a waste of time and money.
That's great. That's great. Mike, thanks for joining us today and working with us every day to help build us deeper relationships between each other, with our partners, with our co-customers that we have together.
Thank you guys for having me. I will just say that for all of the clients and customers out there listening, there are no better resources than what are at CRI, and nothing that I love more than getting in the room and brainstorming with these guys about how we can solve problems. And if we could get you guys in the room with us, we think we can solve a lot of problems together. Again,
Sure.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, sir. So for you listeners out there, if you're not one of our partner customers already, I ask you to, get with us at no risk. We can analyze all your call flows, your goals, look at what you have, look at where you want to go. And we can see what we can do to help you guys flourish. You can go to gocri.com and request that today, or you can email us at support@gocri.com. You'll get with an engineer of ours, not a sales rep, an engineer, and they'll start with you on the process to see where we can take you.
That's great. So, everyone, thanks for listening to The Resource. This is a podcast of Communications Resources. If you like what you heard, like, follow, and subscribe, and shoot us a comment or two. We love that. And remember, Communications Resources is your partner for life.